Wake up, wake up. It is Wednesday, March the 12th, 9:17 on the West Coast, 17 minutes afternoon on the East Coast. Time for a little Krug show meets Damon Bruce Plus. We call it Wake Up. Wake up.
Yeah, we normally join you 3 days a week, but in the off season, we eliminated the Wednesday show because we just felt a little overkill. Go back to 3 days a week in the regular season, but Larry and I both can't join you this Friday, so we thought during free agency week we would hop right in, especially with a little bit more news trickling out about an incoming 49er. Most of the stories have been about outgoing 49ers. The latest incoming 49er here, and what has been kind of a yawn for them when it comes to free agent ads, is cornerback Trey Brown. Larry, he's been with Seattle his entire career. He plays a lot, doesn't start often, but he's out there. He's a guy. You know, he's a guy. I'll be totally honest with you. I'm not going to pretend to be a Trey Brown expert because the 49ers just signed him. I've been doing 49er Seahawks pre and post game shows for almost 2 decades. And in the 4 years that he has played in the league with the Seahawks, not once did I bring up his name as a player to look out for or be careful of, or don't throw it in his direction. Trey Brown's out there. I don't know much about him, but because I don't have much knowledge about him doesn't mean anything about what kind of player he is. But we know that the 49ers aren't in top shelf liquor business right now. They're looking for deals. They're looking for price points. They're looking for signability. And obviously he met those standards.
I mean, I think this is a great signing. This guy's 27. He was drafted by the Seahawks in the 4th round in 2021. In 4 seasons, he started 13 games, 1,169 snaps at corner, had a couple interceptions. He gave up 4 touchdown catches. Under Pete Carroll, he was the Seahawks' number 3 corner, and he played 50% of the defensive snaps when he was healthy. But then last year, under a new regime with Mike McDonald, he just kind of got phased out. And so he's going to come into a Niner situation where he's probably going to compete with Darrell Luter Jr., Trey Tomlinson, Trey Avery, and probably a rookie to be the backup corners behind Diamador Lenore and Renardo Green. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see. Last year, you know, if he plays, he should improve their run defense on the perimeter right away. He gave up a passer rating of 124 when targeted, but he's a pretty good run defender. So he played at Oklahoma. This is the 49ers' 3rd pick in a row in free agency where they've added a defensive back. And I kind of like what they've done in the secondary. I mean, they added Jason Pinnock. Pinnock played at Pittsburgh. He's a corner who can play a little safety. He's very physical, good special teamer, and a good solid backup. Very rugged tackler. I like Pinnock. And to me, the best signing so far has been Richie Grant.
Grant's a good signing. Yeah.
Well, Grant played at Central Florida and then was a 2nd-round pick. And this is not that long ago. And, you know, he's done okay with Atlanta, but Atlanta is, you know, a real good team to take defensive backs from right now. Why? Because they've really not had a pass rush the last couple of years. And so a lot of their defensive backs are lower rated than they actually are talented. And Grant's one of those guys. Grant is a good size safety who can hit, but he's also a good enough coverage guy, unlike a Tayshaun Gibson, to play, you know, the deep middle in a cover 3 zone or play the deep middle in man-to-man. He can cover. I mean, Richie Grant can cover. And that's the one difference is like Hufanga, Malik Mustafa, Jair Brown. To me, they were all strong safeties. They needed a free safety. Richie Grant is a free safety. He's much more of a coverage player.
Richie Grant played every single special team snap for the Atlanta Falcons as well. And as we circle the must improve categories of the 49ers, you know, it feels like a lot of us have sort of overlook special teams the way we accuse of Kyle sort of looking past them because there are bigger issues afoot. Look, special teams is a very important thing for the 49ers to get better at. I think it will help them there. And I think you're right, Larry. He improves the safety room. He will compete, I think, with Jair Brown for his starting snaps. I think Malik Mustafa is locked in as your starter. Jalen Mahoney, Richie Grant, Jair Brown, Malik Mustafa is your safety room right now. And that's not bad. It's not bad as we're watching all these 49er units look pretty much incomplete now 3 days into free agency. Technically, free agency starts today, but we all know what's going on here. This is one of the more complete position groups that the 49ers actually can look at right now.
Well, I mean, it's early. It's like, people are losing their mind. BetUS has a graphic up. 49er fans, how worried are you on a scale of 1 to 10? And there's a lot of people who are like, I didn't like this move. They gutted this, they gutted that. Let's go through it if you want. And who did they lose really? I mean, what have they lost so far? On offense, they lost Debo.
How about this? Even the player we like the most is a player that at this age and at that price point with the injury, you might want to walk away from. So even the guy that I think is the hardest to say goodbye to in Dre Greenlaw, I get it.
What did they lose? I mean, what have they really lost? I mean, they lost Dobbs and Brandon Allen at quarterback. They're going to lose Eric Saubert at tight end. They're going to lose Chris Conley and Debo at receiver. We'll see about Ayuk. The offensive line is not a great offensive line, but they didn't necessarily lose anybody there. They've lost a little bit off their defensive front, or Aaron Banks. They've lost Aaron Banks at left guard. But I think, Ben Barch almost looked better than Aaron Banks when he played last year. And then defensively, you lost Greenlaw. And Malik Collins. But I mean, it's like Greenlaw played 34 snaps. You didn't even have him. Malik Collins was okay. Nothing more than okay. So I think the watching everybody else spend a lot of money is like very, very hard to see. And then watching some of these other teams get better is hard to watch. Wanting the Niners to be partaking in this is only natural. But I think realistically, the people, and I just had Murph ask me, are the Niners rebuilding? And Ryan Clark saying, oh, if you're rebuilding, you should get rid of CMC. I don't really see it as a rebuild. I kind of think, look at Philly last year. Philly looked terrible in the playoff game against Tampa. Their pass defense was a total sieve. They got rid of their defensive coordinator. They brought in a better defensive coordinator, a veteran. The Niners did the same. They went into the draft, found Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, signed Saquon Barkley and the big guard, Mekhi Becton and Zach Bond. And here they are a year later. They won the Super Bowl in convincing fashion. I'm not saying the Niners are exactly the Eagles, but you know what? The Eagles sure looked a whole lot better this year than they did at the end of last year. And I think the 49ers are going to be, we'll see what they do in the draft. They've put all of their chips on the draft, and I would imagine they're probably not done in free agency. They'll probably do something more today or tomorrow. But overall, I still think they're going to be a 10-win team and a playoff team. I really do. It's a bad schedule. I think they'll have a good draft. And if they have a good draft, I think they're there.
You just made a point that you were arguing with me with on Monday or Friday or whatever it was. Yes, I think that the 49ers are going through. Is it a rebuild? And that's one of our topics today. Is this a rebuild? Well, I guess that depends on what you classify as a rebuild. Is there a number of players that have to actually leave a team to trigger it's a rebuild clause into this? To me, this more looks like an extreme retooling than it does a rebuild. To me, rebuild means you're changing quarterbacks. You're changing your head coach. You're changing your front office. You are changing your team philosophically emotionally, physically. Like there's a massive, we're going to erase the old thumbprint and get you a whole bunch of brand new fingerprints. I think that the 49ers are going to have the same fingerprints. They're just going to be laid by some different people. I don't think that this is much of a rebuild, even though there's been an extreme amount of roster movement and volatility, and it looks like it's all exodus, no incoming, and the guys that are incoming are, DeMarcus Robinson. Are you going to get that excited about adding DeMarcus Robinson? No. Other teams get excited about the free agents they add. There's no exciting free agents really coming to the 49ers. But Larry, like the people that complained last year about how bad it all was are the same people complaining about the extreme measures that the 49ers are taking here. Like, you can't have it both ways. Like, be a little consistent. If you thought that last year's team sucked and needed to be blown up and needed to be changed, well, there is a lot of change afoot here. This is change. Will it be the kind of change that means the entire franchise is going to have to take 2 steps back before they take another step forward? Well, the regular season is coming. We're going to find out. But I don't think it's going to be that dramatically different. I don't think this is a huge change.
Well, I mean, you're projecting lots and lots of draft contributions, and rookies sometimes contribute and sometimes don't. So if they have a great draft, they could be really good. If they have a mediocre draft, they could just be okay. If they have a horrible draft, they could have gigantic holes throughout their roster. So there's a lot of unknown. But as far as, like, I think in the last 24 hours, you've seen the impact of Parag and the belt tightening. The Niners, and I said it at the time when last Friday, when Nick Bosa got cut, or when Joey Bosa got cut by the Chargers, I said, you know what? That would be a great piece for the Niners, but they can't go over 8 to 10 million. They gotta keep him somewhere in that ballpark. And sure enough, Buffalo came along, offered a 1-year deal for $12.6 million. And the combination, I'm sure, of California taxes and the Niners offering maybe 8 to 10, according to the reports, the Niners wanted to get him for under 10, which I think was smart. But the Bills came along, offered 1 year and 12.6. Now, in past years, maybe they run it back to Lynch and Shanahan's like, we really want Joey. We really want Joey. All right, we'll go to 12.5. And then they would have had Joey Bosa. Instead, they didn't. And now Joey Bosa is a member of the Buffalo Bills, and he'll try to win a Super Bowl there. Hey, the other thing that could have happened also is that maybe Bosa's agent said to Bosa, hey, you know what? Based on what I've seen in free agency, the 49ers are not the place to go to try to steal a ring on your way out the door. And maybe they made that determination. I don't know.
Well,
but that's
so let's say you're sitting at you're Joey Bosa. That's you're only looking at this through the perspective of Joey Bosa and what football team can get me closer to winning a Super Bowl. Buffalo, Miami, or the 49ers? The answer is Buffalo. So he did choose the best chance to go win a Super Bowl based on last year's results. I'll give him that. I don't want to hear another word about family, about Bosa's playing together. I don't want to hear another word about how much he loves or misses his brother ever again. That obviously didn't come into play when it had a chance to. If he's healthy all year, Larry, and out there making plays for the Bills, yeah, there's going to be a little sting. They should have gone a little bit more. But look, there's also a better chance that he will be shut down by week 11 due to some injury that was easy to predict based on recent results and performance. So, it's not the worst thing ever on missing out on Joey Bosa, but it's not great either. It's not great either because I thought he would have been a rotational piece to add to the 2 edge rushers that they needed to draft anyways. They still got to draft those 2 edge rushers, but they don't have any veteran to lean on the other side of Nick Bosa. By the way, Leonard Floyd, who got released, got picked up lickety-split by the Atlanta Falcons. I thought it was maybe smart to keep him around. I thought it was maybe smart.
I didn't. I mean, he was a hollow stat padding guy. I mean, as far as I don't think he ever beat anybody.
Joey Bosa that this time in his career too.
Well, no, they're totally different players. Joey Bosa was 18th in the NFL against the run among all defensive ends. Joey Bosa plays the run. Leonard Floyd doesn't play the run at all. Leonard Floyd at this point shoots upfield, jump cuts over if a quarter. I watched every snap. He
Right.
did not beat anybody off the snap more than once or twice all season. What he does is he gets up the field and then he waits for the quarterback to kind of step up into the pocket. And then he quickly jump cuts away from the blind blocker in front of him and sacks the quarterback. That's his move. He,
8.5. I mean, he got it. He got,
but I mean, it's garbage time. I mean, it's garbage time sacks. He literally piled up the most non-meaningful sacks I think I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he can get to the quarterback a little bit if you play him, but he doesn't do anything else. He doesn't defend the run. The Niners were not good against the run. He was one of the reasons. So, and as far as this position goes, I know they wanted Joey Bosa, but that's not who they needed. They don't need Joey Bosa. Looking at the defensive ends and looking at what's still available in free agency, there are a few players out there that would really help them that probably aren't going to cost you Joey Bosa money, but are probably better than Joey Bosa. For example, I'm just looking at the free agent market of who's left. Charles Omenihu, former Niner, he's 27. He made $8 million this year with Kansas City. You can have him. He's probably going to be in that range of, $6 to $8 million a year. If you go further down the list and you look at some of the younger guys, Azeez Ojulari from the New York Giants.
Name, Larry. We were talking about him in season last year. Trade for him.
He was up for a trade. Now he's a free agent. He's 20, on the verge of being 25. He only made $1.6 million this year. That's a guy that you ought to be calling. The other name on this list that I think is a great fit for the 49ers is, I don't see him anymore here, but the former Seahawk who was in Chicago this last year, Darrell Taylor. I'm not sure if Darrell Taylor signed with it. Maybe Darrell Taylor just signed.
Zadarius Smith.
Zadarius Smith is out there. I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence, but he made bigger money. He made like $13 million. Cleve Farrell's out there. Dante Fowler's out there. But like Azeez Ojulari, Trevis Gibson, who's, played for Seattle this year, former Bear. He's only 27. He made $1.2 million this year. I mean, I think he would be a very good option for them at defensive end. Tyus Wheat, who played for Dallas this year, played at Mississippi State, would be a good under-the-radar addition. So there are still a couple guys out there that they could get edge rusher-wise, but they're going to have to do this in the draft. They're going to have to find their guys in the draft.
Simple as that. Yeah, I think that they need to spend, how many picks do they have with all the compensatory action that's come back in their direction? What are they looking at?
Well, I mean, right now I think they have 11 or 12 picks. And they're probably, if you wanted to move around a little bit in the draft, they could probably get themselves as many as 15 picks, and then they'll probably sign 4 or 5 guys after the draft. I will say this though. I know before you sit there, not you, but before people go out, sit there and just start tearing the Niners up. What is this plan? This is a terrible plan. Okay. Just remember this. There was a really good Todd McShay pod in the last day or two. Go check it out. And in this pod, McShay, who knows the draft really well and has been scouting the college prospects for years, said that this year, the 2025 draft, and next year, the 2026 draft, are the drafts that you want lots and lots of picks in. Why? Because his argument is that 2025 and 2026 are going to be across the board much deeper drafts, largely because of 2 factors: NIL money, which kept players in school longer, and this just started, and so that's put a lag on prospects coming out.
The first wave of NIL players will be graduating over the next 2 years.
Yeah, so you've got the NIL factor, which kept more players in the college game, and then you have the COVID pandemic, which kept more players. There, like, give you an example. Tyler Shugg is in this draft. He's a quarterback. He's been in college for 7 years. Dylan Gabriel, a quarterback. He's been in college for 7 years. These guys have been in college a long time. So the argument is, if you can somehow get a lot of picks in 25 and 26, you are going to find starters in rounds 3, 4, 5, and 6, where in the past that probably would have been rounds 3 and 4, not 5 and 6. So the Niners already, with the prospects they've lost in free agency, have the full boat of compensatory selections in the 26 draft and the 25 draft. So they're getting the most compensatory picks as they possibly can. And so in this draft and next draft. So in some ways, I think the timing is perfect because the 49ers are saying goodbye to their older players. They're going to lean heavily on the 25 and 26 drafts. And if they hit it right, they might be able to, seamlessly kind of transition from Super Bowl contender to younger version of themselves.
And they needed to do that. They needed to do it. Look, when they walked off that field in Las Vegas with that Super Bowl loss, they've now moved 13 starters? 13 starters from that game are gone right now. Is that
Super Bowl 54 you're talking about?
Yeah, yes. So, and they needed to do it. They needed to do it. I think we were all sort of shocked with how overnight older, slower, more oft injured the 49ers became. And it felt like an extreme pendulum swing that made a Super Bowl team a 6-win team. So, the 49ers, again, also, for a team that didn't win the Super Bowl, boy, there's a lot of guys on this roster were treated like they did in terms of the money that they agreed to in the years competing and leading up to the Super Bowl between, Jimmy G's Super Bowl and the Brock Super Bowl. The 49ers enjoyed all the spoils of a Super Bowl without actually bringing home a Lombardi trophy. The disease of more sort of started spreading around the team. And it became, again, a lot of people are angry. And I am no house organ for ownership, saving money. I don't care. There's Jed York sleeps in better sheets, no matter what, than any of us do. But I think this is how smart football teams operate. I really do. I think you have to sometimes make the hard goodbyes, take the guy who you really like, is productive and is your defensive violence, but at his age, as dinged up as he can be before the Achilles. Denver wants to give that to Dre Greenlaw. That's a number you don't run back to the table to try to beat.
It's a big number. Didn't he get like 20? Was it 20? It was basically between 11 and 12 million a year for 3 years.
Yeah.
That was higher than the Niners wanted to go and higher than they should have gone. And it's going to be painful to lose a player like that. But bottom line is it's a young man's game. And if you really look at the Niner free agents, they haven't lost anything. They really, Khalil Davis, Devondre Campbell, Isaac Yiadom, Tayshaun Gibson, Rock Ya-Sin, Nick McLeod. That's what they've lost on defense.
There's a lot of just guys
Malik
there,
Collins, Dre Greenlaw. I like Malik Collins, but he's just okay. I like Dre Greenlaw, but he's only got a year or two left. The rest of those guys are just, dime a dozen passing through. On offense, same thing.
And look,
now,
I don't want to crap on Kyle Juszczyk at all, because when he was with the Niners, he was very good. The guy went to a Pro Bowl every year he was in the uniform. That's almost like winning mayor when you run unelected, though. You run unopposed, and congratulations, you're mayor. Who'd you beat out? Well, I ran unopposed. Like being the fullback.
Or celebrating a teacher's 20 years at a school. It's like you got tenure 5 years in, and who knows, you could be horseshit.
Right.
Way to go. You've been there for 20 years, but have you graduated anybody?
There was one fullback left in the NFC, and congratulations, you're the Pro Bowl fullback. The Ravens got a fullback. That's why there are two fullbacks in football. Baltimore has one. The 49ers have one. Those are your annual Pro Bowl fullbacks, just by default almost. And look, Kyle Juszczyk, as Larry and I have said, God, so many times, he was terrible in the low red zone. He was hardly a road grader that opened up holes. He was ineffective carrying the ball. He had one of the biggest fumbles of the entire year. Kyle Juszczyk basically was good for 3 wheel routes a year, and only one of those really popped. That's all it was. So that was a goodbye. That was a goodbye. I mean, his wife's jackets around the NFL were a bigger story impacting the NFL than Kyle Juszczyk was at any point in time during the last season.
He's a gold-studded doormat. Do you want one? Sure. If times are tough, are you getting rid of your gold-studded doormat first? Yeah. It's like, do you need a gold-studded doormat? No, you really don't. You really don't. And do you need Kyle Juszczyk? No, you really don't. There's nothing wrong with him. He's fine. But, the bottom line is he got paid handsomely, and we're in a different era. Just look at it this way. And this is how the Niners ought to look at this. Go look at the skills that he gave you and go replace people who can give you those skills. Don't worry about a label of, is this guy a fullback? Because in the modern NFL, there aren't a lot of fullbacks. They're not, as Damon said, there's not a lot of people who use a fullback. There's not a lot of people who use a fullback in the college game. So there's not a lot of fullback players out there to scout. You know what? What do you do? What did Juszczyk do for you? He caught a few passes. Fine. Use Guerendo. Guerendo's a better receiver. Guerendo caught 15 of 16 targets last year. That's the highest percentage on the team. He's got great hands. Use Guerendo.
Luke Farrell, the tight end that you just signed out of
Luke Farrell. Yeah, use Luke Farrell. Use Guerendo, and use Patrick Taylor. If you keep Jordan Mason, use Jordan Mason. Use other people to catch the ball. And then blocking wise, go do what the Ravens all-pro fullback is a failed offensive lineman. Go find your own failed offensive lineman and make him your tight end / fullback / blocker and be done with it. Don't ever pay a fullback big money. Go get a couple offensive linemen or defensive linemen. Let your backup defensive tackle or your backup center be your fullback in short yardage. Other teams do it. Harbaugh does it everywhere he goes. Do the same thing. Guess what? The Chargers are paying Scott Matlock a whole lot less than the Niners are paying Kyle Juszczyk. So save some money on your fullback.
And by the way, I don't think the 49ers are going to be looking running back in this draft based on again, forget about what they say or what you think. What are the moves? The minute that they brought back Patrick Taylor, I thought, all right, I was surprised by that. They didn't use him or trust him or turn to him very often throughout the year. But when we did see a little of him, he looked okay. The fact that they put a second-round tender on Jordan Mason basically means Jordan Mason's coming back. No one's given a second-rounder for Jordan Mason. So he's back in the room. Guerendo's back in the room. And McCaffrey is, I think, at the point in his career now where the 49ers, if they get a healthy Christian McCaffrey, they're going to do everything to hurt him again. Because he is a play him to the wheels fucking come off part of the team now. So I don't think they're going to be drafting running back because Mason's not going anywhere. And Patrick Taylor
Mason is going. Mason is going somewhere.
What team's going to give a second rounder for Jordan Mason, Larry?
Nobody. Nobody's going to give you a second rounder, but that's just the tender of what you're going to pay him. That doesn't mean that's not the only way for him to leave. All it takes is for him to leave is, somebody says, you know what? We like Jordan Mason. We saw you tendered him at a second round level. We're not giving you a second round pick. Here's a third. Would you take it? Yeah, okay, we'll take it. Goodbye, Jordan Mason. I think Jordan Mason's going to get moved. I think for sure the 49ers will draft a running back. This is an epic running back draft. And as I said, I think Guerendo's going to have fullback duties. McCaffrey's an unknown. Mason, I think, gets traded. You got to remember this about Mason. Mason had some kind of issue this year with the coaching staff where he spoke out of school about something he shouldn't have at a presser. They verbally scolded him, and he emotionally just curled up in a ball and he's done. I mean, he is done with the Niners. I think. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, he's very talented. They're not just going to hand him away, but I guarantee you, the 49ers will draft a running back, and I almost would guarantee that Jordan Mason gets traded. I think Mason gets moved. I think Ayuk gets moved. I think they both wind up getting moved for picks. If you type in Brandon Ayuk right now, by the way, into X, it spits out Brandon Ayuk, and the next word is Patriots, and then the next word to that is Brandon Ayuk to Cleveland. So I think it's safe to say that there's smoke around Brandon Ayuk, and the 49ers are, I think, very motivated to move him. I think they're going to move him for a price tag that is going to be very surprising.
I don't think anyone's coming with a second rounder for Jordan Mason. And when you put a second round tender on him, it doesn't mean you want a third. It means you want a second rounder.
No, you're wrong. They're going to wind up trading him for that's a payment thing. That's about what you're going to be paid. Okay. So if you give the guy a 4th round tender, you're going to pay him X. If you give him a 3rd round tender, you're going to pay him Y. The 2nd round tender is not about, let's make sure we get a 2nd round pick in return. It's about what you plan on paying this player, what you consider him worth. He's still very likely from the people that I've talked to. It's very, very likely that he is traded, and it's probably not. It won't be for a 2nd round pick. It will be for a lower pick. It'll be like a 3rd round, 4th round, or 5th round pick. But I would say it's highly likely.
A second round tender. The designation applies to restricted free agents, meaning that the team can offer a 1-year contract if another team wants to sign that player. The signing team has to forfeit a 2nd round draft pick to the player's original team.
Right. If you go through the process of signing the player, are you going to match? Are you not going to match? We're not going to match. Now that team's got to give you a 2nd round pick. You're right. That process is all for naught. That's not going to happen. They listed him as a 2nd round tender. Nobody's going to come offer him. Nobody's going to offer the Niners a 2nd round draft pick and try to sign him as a restricted free agent. But they're still going to wind up trading him. I think we'll see. I'm pretty sure about it. There's been a lot of speculation. If you look up Jordan Mason, you're going to find there's lots of people that have been talking about this for a while, that he's probably going to fetch a 3rd or 4th round draft choice. Most people expect him to be dealt for a 4th round pick. So look for him on day 3 of the draft to probably move. Nobody's going to sign him away, and the Niners, we're not going to match. Give us a second. That won't happen. But somebody will want him because he's a good back. He averaged 5.2 a carry, but he's just, you could tell at the end of the year he was pouting. He was in a bad mood, and like a guy you didn't want to talk to from like whenever he kind of misspoke on. Somebody got in his face. Somebody yelled at him. It totally affected him. I don't know why, but I'm pretty sure he'll be moved on.
I think he's back. I think he's back, and I think you put a 2nd round tender on a guy to basically let everyone know that you're going to have to give us a 2nd round pick if you want him. We didn't put a 2nd round tender on him and now come get him for a 4th. I don't think football works like that. So
when you're wrong, you can apologize to the audience. There you go.
Okay, sure. And when you're wrong, I'm sure you'll never pretend you even said it.
I'm just saying, I don't know why you want to dig in on that, but whatever. It's all right. Go ahead. Do what you got to do. Anyway, let's hit some supers and then we'll get out of here. Cameron Ezel says, are you guys hearing anything about Kupp? I think he's going to be released by the Rams. I don't think he's going to get traded. Probably going to get released. James Foster says, I love Pinnock.
What number? At what number do they give Cooper Kupp a call?
I don't think they do. Cooper Kupp, your stated position is that you want to get younger, cheaper, and healthier. There's nothing there for Cooper Kupp. James Foster says, I love Pinnock. He's a dude. I agree, James. I mean, he was a solid player at Pittsburgh. I liked him in the draft. He was kind of one of those, 4-5, 4-6 corners. I mean, he doesn't run great. They've used him at safety quite a bit. So you may see him on special teams. But I think overall, he's just a quality what they got at defensive back is they got 3 young players who are all kind of in their prime, but are ready to play roles. Richie Grant, Jason Pinnock, and Trey Brown. I think all 3 of those guys, they'll wind up replacing the Tayshaun Gibsons, the Nick McLeods, the Rock Ya-Sins, the Isaac Yadams. I think he'll be, kind of out with last year's free agents and in with a new group. And they'll try to complement the young guys, which are, Luter, Jair, Mustafa, Renardo, and Demo Lenore. So we'll see. They get 3 young DBs there that have some talent. Let's see. We got another one here from Ernberg. He says, catch-up from bad drafts is finally here. Yeah, I mean, it's simple as that. I mean,
there's a lot of bills hitting the table. There's the Brock Purdy brand new bill hitting the table. There's what you paid to go to that Super Bowl hitting the table. And finally, the Trey Lance missed draft picks, several blown first, second, third round picks. Yeah, it's all there's a lot coming to a head right here. This is it. And that's why it's so extreme. That's why the Niners needed to make tough choices.
Heather Taylor in the chat says, hey guys, are there any potential young defensive line free agents we could pull off the scrap heap for Kasarik to resurrect, i.e. Arden Key and Kerry Hyder? I mean, it depends. At defensive end, there's Draymond Jones, there's DeMarcus Lawrence, there's Charles Omenihu. Omenihu maybe makes sense. I could see that. I could see them going for younger guys. We mentioned Azeez Ojulari, Travis Gibson. Those are a little bit of the younger defensive ends. There's not a lot. As far as defensive tackle, let me take a look at defensive tackle. There's probably a few more defensive tackles. So Milton Williams obviously signed, Jonathan Allen, Kinlaw, all those guys are signed. Givens came back. So looking at the defensive tackle spot, I mean, there's Lecky Fotu, who played with the Jets, and Robert Saleh made $2.5 million last year. He's kind of an interesting name because, he does have that experience with Saleh. The Niners, as far as the defensive tackle spot, I'm looking at the names. It's a lot of older players. It's a lot of guys in their 30s.
What's the thing? The Niners, again, they want to get younger, but they cannot get younger across the board in free agency because they're not shopping at that this guy's still young price point. So with the little bit of money that they have allocated left towards free agency, you're going to get a DeMarcus Robinson. You're not going to get a younger guy. And to me, DeMarcus Robinson is nowhere nearly as good as Cooper Kupp when healthy, and Cooper Kupp's not that much older. What's the price on Cooper Kupp is a question that I would like the 49ers to ask Cooper Kupp and maybe bring that guy in. Cooper Kupp is your starting wide receiver week 1 if the 49ers sign him.
I mean, once again, he's an older guy who's been hurt and he makes a lot of money.
That's what's left out there.
But that's not what they want. I mean, they don't want older. They're running away from older players who are broken down that can't play anymore. And they're going to run to Cooper Kupp, who's older, hasn't played a full season in a few years.
You're not tying your grand future fortunes to him. He's somebody to catch passes for 17 regular season games. At this point, he's just a name. I don't, to me, I think they're probably, if you want to go with an older player, I could see them going for like Tyler Boyd, who was in Cincinnati, who's 30. He's been in the league almost 10 years, but he's 30. He's not older. There's some younger guys too. Elijah Moore is only 24. He's still out there. Rondale Moore is still 24. He's out there. Josh Reynolds seems like he's a kind of a pretty solid receiver for Jacksonville. Played for the Rams. He's 30. If you look at the receivers that are unsigned, that are viewed as the best receivers, Diggs in his 30s, Keenan Allen, 33, Amari Cooper, 31, Brandon Cooks, 32, Tyler Lockett, 33, Mike Williams, 30 years, 31.
So, I mean, you've got a lot of older receivers. But if you go down the list and look all the way down the list, you do see a couple of young guys. McCole Hardman's 27. Dwayne Eskridge, who played in Seattle, pretty fast guy, 27. Tylan Wallace from Baltimore, pretty decent player, 25. So there's a couple guys. They're not big name receivers, but I could see them adding potentially. Well, I don't know if they're going to add a receiver now that they've added Demarcus Robinson. They probably are going to go into the year, into the draft, I should say, with what they have is what I would guess, which would be Pearsall, Jennings, Cowing, Demarcus Robinson, Isaiah Hodgins. So, it's not great. I will say this about Demarcus Robinson, though. Demarcus Robinson's got some speed. He makes plays down the field. He's not a not a bum. I mean, he's a guy who's won a couple Super Bowls. He's a guy who's made some big plays. Heck, the Rams beat the Niners in week 2 or 3 last year, and it was because of guys like Demarcus Robinson and Tutu Atwell, because the Rams didn't even have Cooper Kupp. They didn't even have Puka Nacua, but they somehow beat the Niners that day because Robinson had a big 30-yard catch. Mooney Ward got burned by Tutu for a 50-yard bomb, and those young receivers stepped up. So we'll see.
We will see. We'll see it all. And everyone who gets so upset by what the Niners have done, again, you can't start putting a grade on any of this until the draft is over. And then even those who want to run degrade that, we won't know until the games start. There's going to be a lot of unknown moving parts, and I just know that unknown moving parts on offense are something that Shanahan's never really liked. I'm wondering if George Kittle isn't about to get the Jimmy Graham treatment in terms of offense, where he is split out in the slot more than he's on the line of scrimmage. I think they're going to need him as a target more than they're going to need him in their run blocking game. Times are changing. Times are changing. 2 tight end sets. Maybe we're going to see more of those coming up this year. But things are getting different for the 49ers. There is no doubt about it. Now, first of all, are we through all the supers? What else we got here, Larry? Let's get through those. And then I'll offer a suggestion as to why maybe the 49ers are being so uptight about cash liquidity.
Verniner says the plan is good, realistically. Odds are it will take time from this draft and the next with where we are now to reset. Call it what you want. I mean, odds are the 49ers are going to be in a 3 or 4 year down cycle, but you just don't know. You don't know how it's going to go. Heck, a lot of people thought they were going to be a 13-win team this year. They won 6 games. So it's, so much of it is about who you play, when you play them, how does your quarterback play? It's really so much about that. I mean, it's kind of a disproportional amount of the situation is leaning on a couple of things, and one of them is Brock and how well Brock plays. Corey Wiggs says Kupp is just a year older than Robinson and doesn't have a pending DUI. Don't get your logic, Larry. Kupp's old. Kupp didn't play well. There's a reason. Do you think the Rams aren't interested in winning? They are. If the Rams were interested in winning, they would have kept Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp hasn't played in a couple of years with any consistency. As far as Robinson played well. Robinson's coming off his career best year. Robinson scored 7 touchdowns. And as far as the DUI, I mean, that's neither here nor there. I mean, that's not part of the conversation. DUIs are, if you don't want to sign the guy because he's got a DUI, that's fine. But that to me, that doesn't change any evaluation of the player at all. I mean, that's just part of human life. I mean, guys have DUIs. Guys make bad decisions.
No, guys, no. That's, I mean, let's not start offering grace to DUIs in the age of Uber.
I'm just saying people make bad decisions. This is a societal problem. It's not like oh, you know what? How many guys on the 49ers right now have a DUI in their past? Go ahead. Tell me. Nobody knows because nobody knows. I mean, it's like it's part of people's story, but it's like nobody knows. I mean, you don't make evaluations okay, the guy's got a pending DUI.
I don't think
As
there's
far as
any,
Cooper Kupp goes,
any,
Cooper
any
Cup's just old. I mean, he's an older player. Some guys are older earlier. Some guys are older. Some guys hold their age. Some guys are 32 and are just getting started. Other guys are 32. Heck, we just saw Deebo Samuel leave. Deebo Samuel's 28 years old. But is he old? Yeah, he's too old. But the Niners have guys who are 32 years old that have 2 or 3 years left, but they have a 28-year-old guy who's at the end. So age is kind of a number more than anything. And it's not the same on every player.
Cooper Kupp had a much better year than DeMarcus Robinson in much fewer games.
He's a much better player, but you're also paying him a lot more money.
Well, again, so my question was, what's the number? What is the market on Cooper Kupp? How many teams are really going to be coming after him? Who would be interested? If I'm Kyle Shanahan, I would be very interested in Cooper Kupp at a right price point, going out there, playing as much as he can, and being a mentor to Pearsall and Juwan Jennings. And I think that's a player that they should give a call to. That's a player they should give a call to, because I would rather have,
he's old, Damon. Right. Okay, he's an older player. What part of older, cheaper, and healthier leads you to Cooper Kupp?
Well, what part of any of that leads you to DeMarcus Robinson? Necessity leads you there.
Speed. He complements what they don't have. He's not a redundant part. He has speed. He makes plays down the field. Speed. That's what he brings to the table.
I mean, theoretically, you're right. But I don't know how much you're actually going
what
to
do
get
you mean? What's theoretically? He's faster.
Jacob Cowing. So this is Jacob Cowing. He's Jacob Cowing.
No, right? He's not. Jacob Cowing had 3 catches.
Right. So use your younger player then. You get your younger player out there, but we know that Kyle doesn't like young wide receivers.
Oh, that's not true.
Get Kyle some wide receivers that he can use.
So funny, because he really liked young wide receivers when he had Deebo Samuel when he was young. How come he sure liked young wide receivers when he was in Atlanta and he had young wide receivers? He just doesn't like bad wide receivers. I don't think this whole Kyle can't play young players. That's not true. If you want to make that argument about Steve Kerr, maybe that's compelling. But for Shanahan, I don't think that's true. Moonman says we need to trade CMC now. Youth movement, it's here. I mean, it's unpopular to say trade CMC, but if you're going, this is a conversation where, once again, it's like if you say to 49er fans, should you have traded Ayuk last year? Hell yeah. Should you have traded Deebo 2 years ago? Hell yeah. Do you want to trade Kittle today? No. Do you want to trade Bosa today? No. So it's easy when a guy's done to say, oh, should have traded him last year. It's harder, much harder, when a guy's coming off a career year or a good year to be like, let's trade this guy and stay a year ahead. It's generally unpopular to trade guys a year ahead or to say goodbye a year prior to them losing it. But everybody wants to go that route. Everybody wants to be like, hey, you know what? If we had gotten rid of Deebo 2 years ago, okay. But that if you believe that, then you should be all about getting rid of CMC, getting rid of Kittle, getting rid of Bosa, because those guys are on top right now, and there's a market for them. If you really believe that you're going to be bad for years to come, you probably should consider moving them.
Look, for the 49ers to be a playoff-bound, more than 10-win team next year, they're going to need an awful lot of – they're going to need Christian McCaffrey more next year than they needed him the year they went to the Super Bowl and he was Offensive Player of the Year. It's a scary place to be needing, coming off of his never even heard of those level of injuries, but they need Christian McCaffrey. They need him badly. So I don't think they're going to be trading him at all. That's not happening.
Well, I mean, that they need all their good players, but then they also need a bunch of draft choices. So how do you get a bunch of draft choices? And it's like, and the thing about it too is like, what is Christian McCaffrey going to be? It's like, is he going to be good going forward? If he's just going to be clogging your payroll and not producing, then he's not really valuable. But if he's going to be this awesome player that's the equivalent of the reigning offensive player of the year, then you want him. but it's like, what are you going to get? I mean, that's the part. We don't know what you're going to get.
A couple more keepers have come in.
We got this one, James Foster. Good show, dudes.
Cheers.
James Foster says, does Trent get moved to a Super Bowl contender? Wow.
Mm-mm.
I mean, at some point, wouldn't Brock Purdy say, what in the hell are you guys doing? I don't have Debo. I don't have Ayuk. I don't have Trent. I don't have Juice. But you want me to perform? I mean, it's like at some point, and that would probably be the point right there. If you take away Trent Williams from Brock Purdy, I think at that point, now you're in a full rebuild. Now it's like, well, because,
yeah.
Well, I mean, now you might get your quarterback killed. I mean, that's Old Fogey says better duo, CMC and Scatabo or Mason and Scatabo.
Well, the correct answer is the answer that has Christian McCaffrey in it.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what CMC is. If CMC is CMC, yeah, CMC and Scatabo. Is Scatabo a fullback? That's the other one. I don't know. Scatabo might be a halfback. Scatabo, I'll say this, at the workouts looked amazing. He had a 39-inch vertical. He's got major lower body explosiveness. He's got unbelievable contact balance. He might be more of a running back than I gave him credit for.
He would have been the guy that John Madden would have gone out. It was way far out of his way to describe as he's a football player. Yeah, he really is. He's a football player. He can line up in 7 different places and help you win a game.
He did it. He did it for ASU this year.
He was everywhere.
He's a Sac State guy too. Corey Wiggs' speed. Robinson ran a 4.6 10 years ago. As far as the DUI, my argument is he may miss games. He's going to miss one game most likely. And as far as speed, you can look at a stopwatch all you want. I saw that 4.6 time as well, but go look at the games. Demarcus Robinson made plays down the field. He is a downfield receiver. I hear what you're saying. I saw that 4.6 and I'm like, whoa, that surprised me because he really doesn't play like a 4.6 receiver. He made big plays for the Rams in the Super Bowl. He made big plays for the Rams against the Niners. And he's a downfield guy. So, yeah, I saw that time too. Great one, 765. Brock Purdy for the 21st. Milton as a replacement. Thoughts?
No.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Milton is super big and fast and talented, but he's raw, really raw. And, he's not ready to play, not ready to start, but he is an intriguing player. I mean, I like Joe Milton coming out in the draft. I did a whole video saying the Niners ought to go after Joe Milton. Joe Milton has a ton of friends because that video just absolutely dominated. But he did get a chance to play late in the year and he did some amazing things. I mean, this guy's an incredible talent because he's got foot speed and he's got the biggest arm in the entire league. I mean, the guy can throw it 90 yards in the air. He's 6'5", 250 and he's fast. So yeah, I mean, he's intriguing. I mean, he is intriguing. I don't know what's going to happen to him in his career, how it's going to go, but man, I would love to have a player like that to develop because he has got some unbelievable tools. Danny Golding, any chance of a Mostert reunion? That was rumored. I mean, another one. I mean, it's like, I like the idea of Mostert and I like the idea of a cheap running back that's hungry to kind of prove everybody wrong. But 33 coming off of a bad year, it's a great running back draft. To me, it makes no sense. I'd rather trade back in the 3rd round and get an extra 7th round pick and draft a running back in the 7th round than go that route.
Mostert had 85 carries, 278 yards, 3.3 a carry. Rough year for Mostert last year.
Yeah, I mean, Mostert was a great Niner, and he had an amazing year 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But this last year, he fell off, and, it's football. So, like, if you get to 30, 32, 33 where he's at, and you have a down year, 9 times out of 10, probably more than that, that means that you're back, you're done, or you're near done. Hardly anybody gets back up and has another resurgence. Niner Vega, you don't get it. Robinson might get suspended, and if that's the case, they're back to looking for a receiver. He is going to be suspended for a game. So I think the Niners have factored that in. One game. That's what he's going to probably wind up missing. Probably the first game of the year. From what I've read on that. Fuji Simeon, I'm okay not giving Bosa $12 million. Enjoy cold New York. Yeah, I mean, I wanted a Joey Bosa here, and I thought that would have been a good angle for the Niners to pursue. But I said it at the time, not for any price. It's not like, oh my God, because he's not that player anymore. I mean, the PFF numbers illustrate that he's a really above average run defender and a below average pass defender at this point. He's much better against the run than he is rushing the passer. He's 280 pounds. He's had injuries. He wants to be paid a lot. You probably could take the 10 million or 12 million that you were earmarking for him and go get two different guys. And based on your numbers or lack thereof on your defensive line, I think the argument could be made that the Niners need depth on the defensive line more than they need one guy. I mean, if that one guy was an all-world, Bruce Smith in his prime or Myles Garrett or something like that, okay, that's one thing. But if you're just going to say, I've got, $15 million to spend, can I spend, 6 on one guy and 4 on another and maybe 5 on another and get 3 guys, or give the most of that to Joey Bosa at age 30, whatever. It's a great story, and we love a great story here. The media here would have celebrated it. Oh, Nick, Joey, Nick, Cheryl, John.
At the right price, he made sense. At the wrong price, it was an easy walk away. If he has a great year in Buffalo, there'll be a little didn't get to buy remorse there, but chances are, again, he's hurt and shut down by week 11 because that's just kind of who he is. We'll see. We'll see. But not only do they need defensive line depth, Larry, they need some starters out there too. I mean, they are so thin there right now. It's a good thing that's a very deep position in this upcoming draft. I know we got a couple more. Maybe that's the last one. Thank you very much.
Braun 188X says, you guys are awesome. Appreciate the live streams. 49er Gold Nugget. Milton on Pats or Purdy if you were Milton on the Pats or Purdy if you were the GM, Larry. They have Drake May. They don't want Milton or Purdy. I mean, they have Milton. They're going to move Milton at some point. But Drake May's their guy. And Corey Wiggs' says, dream Azeez Ojulari. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised there's been no smoke around Ojulari, but you never know. It's free agency in the NFL is kind of a weird thing. Sometimes the best players all go first, but sometimes, like we saw Javon Holland sign late last night, probably one of the best free agents out there. He went to the New York Giants. He didn't sign on the first day. He waited to day 2. And there are sometimes guys who will wait to day 3, day 4. So today's day 3 of free agency. There'll be a bunch of signings today. The Niners have added Trey Brown to their secondary. I don't know if they've added anybody else since we started. But I do think there's a very good chance they make a couple trades.
Let's wrap up with this, Larry. Let's wrap up with this. This is a question. It's a question about Brock's contract, and it's not a money question. Let's not talk about money at all. Time. When do you think Brock's extension is done? End of business this week? Next week? Are the Niners going to twiddle their thumb on this for like another month and a half? To me, whatever money
might not get done.
I think it needs to get done. Hopefully today. I mean, get it done.
And it might not get done.
I want to extend for Kittle and Warner too.
It might not get done. It might. The bottom line is they've got him under. They're trying to play hardball, and he's trying to get paid like the best quarterback in football. I think his agent wants $65 million. I think, and all these people, the Niners insulted him with the 45 and then Dinah Rossini. They never offered him 45. Would it have been that awful if they had offered him 45? I don't see that. To me, seems like a very reasonable opening salary. Heck, there are people out there that want to pay him 30.
Yeah.
So how can you? but I mean, if Sam Darnold got 30, how can you sit there and argue the Niners insulted Brock by their initial offer being 45? How does that work? How do you insult a guy with a $45 million contract that other people are saying they should pay him 30? What? I mean, what are we talking about here?
Well, the whole point is it really doesn't matter what anyone says. The market is what dictates this price. As much as Brock's talent or your, whatever you think his lack thereof is, it's the market that is affecting the Brock number as much as the.
Well, make sense of the market for me then, because how come the market for Sam Darnold's 30 when he was better than Brock this year, and Brock's market's 55? Well, I guess I'd have to have somebody explain to me exactly how this quarterback market works, because it's the most nonsensical market there is. Is Dak Prescott the best player in the NFL? Not in anybody's mind, and yet he's the highest paid. So what is the market? How does the market work exactly? What is fair value for Brock? I mean, that's why I think this thing doesn't get done for a while, because I think we have a hard time just even getting there. Like, what is his market? I mean, it's like, what? I hope they don't move off of Brock, but something tells me if the Niners are going to be super hardball on this negotiation, that it could lead itself right to a holdout. And if it's a holdout situation, I mean, we haven't even mentioned that.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
We haven't even mentioned that they're talking about Jameis Winston. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that. From a content creator standpoint, Larry, we want Jameis Winston in San Francisco. Good God, that would be just his press conferences alone would probably get me to drive down to Santa Clara a couple more times a year. But,
I don't feel good about the Brock thing right now. I really don't, because I don't understand where the Niners are going to come from in this negotiation, where Brock's going to come from. I mean, Brock's agent could demand $65 million a year. Okay. Not that he's going to get it, but he could say that, like you just said, hey man, the market. Okay. Well, the market says that the quarterbacks who get paid the most aren't necessarily the best. The quarterbacks that get paid the most are the guys that are free now. It's all about, Jimmy got the most and then somebody else got the most. So is Purdy going to get the most? That to me seems crazy. But also I want to make sure that he's there for OTAs and minicamp, which I think's absolutely imperative. So glad it's not my job, man. I'm glad Kawachippo or whatever says, Larry, stop throwing up numbers that have no source. They offered him $45 million. Now she came back and said that never happened, but that's all we have to go on is somebody saying that was their opening offer. She says that's not their opening offer. Either way, we know where the market sits.
I think it is the ballpark
between 45 and 65. That's the market, somewhere in there.
Opening offer by the 49ers, because again, you say 45, agent says 55, there's 50 right in the middle. Everybody goes home a little happy. You would think. I would hope that that's as easy as it is. Remember, the $50 million price tag on Brock Purdy that you are shitting your pants over today is a price point on a starting quarterback that 3 years from now is a yawn. They're all going to be making $50 million. All of them. Even bad quarterbacks are going to be making. Jaden Daniels, Larry, he's going to be the first $80 million a year quarterback. He's going to get $80 million at some point when he finally is out there, because we're watching these valuations explode. We're watching private equity come in for 10% of everybody, which is going to put billions of more, this is what you're worth now, dollars into football. And oh, by the way, one of the reasons that all of this belt tightening financially in terms of cash liquidity of the 49ers is maybe happening due to this story. Larry, please indulge me for a second. This is baseball news involving the San Francisco 49ers. Baseball rumor involving the San Francisco 49ers. There's a story out there that Major League Baseball is pressuring Stu Sternberg, who owns the Tampa Bay Rays, to sell. 3 families have been briefed on the details of what may be putting in a bid to buy the Rays, according to this story. And one of those families, the family of Edward DeBartolo Jr., which has roots in Tampa, 3 people briefed on discussions said members of the DeBartolo family who own the San Francisco 49ers could be prospective people going to the open house to see if they want to bid. The 49ers might be buying a Major League Baseball team.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't either. But that would explain I need more cash on hand and I need it right now. Jed York actions.
Well, you got to remember this. The 49ers have, with all these extensions that they've done, there's a cash outlay. And that, you could have an asset that's worth $1 billion and it could go up in value by double. And all of a sudden you've got a $2 billion asset, but that's a paper asset. Now you can borrow against that asset freely, and you can use that asset as collateral. But as far as cash, you could be relatively cash poor with an asset that went up $1 billion. That's possible. And they have spent,
by the way,
most estimates,
the entirety of Mark Davis's ownership with the Raiders, by the way.
But most estimates say that Brock Purdy is going to wind up getting, as part of this deal, over $100 million in cash.
Mm-hmm.
So I think really what you're seeing more than anything is the 49ers gearing up, knowing that they're going to have to. And when that happens, even though that gets spread evenly over, let's say, the 3-year deal, 4-year deal, you still have to put 100% of that immediately in an escrow, which means you have to have it hard cash. So that's, I think that's what the hey, do you want to buy 10% for $900 million? I think that's what that's about. And I think the 49ers aren't necessarily having cash problems. I just think that they feel like they've gotten the worst end of the deal on the Bosa deal, on the Debo deal, on the Ayuk deal, and Jed is going to his cash guy that he trusts in Parag and said, you know what, you're going to negotiate these contracts, and they want to be more ruthless in their negotiations. Which, man, the timing could not be worse. The timing could not be worse. So it's like,
by the way,
you're going to be ruthless with your quarterback, and you know what it's going to potentially result in? It's going to result in a holdout, and then it's going to result in giving up this season. And I hope that's not the case, man. I really hope they don't give up the season just to get a good price on the quarterback. Because I've said it 10 times. A good deal done in April is worlds better than a bad deal for the team that's done in September. And yet, I don't think the team agrees with me on that. I think they feel like a good deal is a good deal, and a bad deal is a bad deal, and the timing be damned. But there's this thing called the standings and the season and trying to win. And if you don't have Brock Purdy, I don't think you're going to win. And you could basically kind of cough up the entire season to save a few bucks. I mean, that is going to be a hard sell to the fans.
It's not worth it. No, it's everyone better be there mini camp. I mean, are we going to take no lessons from last year into this year? Mini camp matters. Training camp matters. Having a good preseason matters, because now preseason is basically performative on the football field. So you got to be there for training camp and joint practices and all that shit. The Niners better get that right. George says here, bro, who watches baseball? Hold on, just for a second. He's like, who watches baseball? Focus on football, Jed. Have you seen what's going on in the stock market? Really rich people want to put their place that is guaranteed to grow. And all franchises are guaranteed to grow. There is no recession coming for the value of Major League Baseball franchises or NFL franchises or soccer teams. The Yorks are in the sports investment business. And the best way to continue that business growing is to purchase more sports investments. So that's why they would be interested in the Tampa Bay Rays. Whatever the Tampa Bay Rays are worth today, I guarantee you they'll be worth twice that 25, 50 years from now.
Well, and also makes you wonder, I mean, is it the family that wants to be involved, or is it Eddie on his end? Because Eddie is the one who lives in Tampa and operates, the DeBartolo Corporation operates out of Tampa. That's where their main offices are. So maybe, and he is one of the richest people in Tampa. Maybe he's in that mix just because he's got the Bucks, or maybe he's in that mix because he really wants the team. But it might have nothing to do with the sister, Dr. John York, Ched, and the Niners.
Right. It might have nothing. But that to me was a little bit of an interesting story. When I saw that, I was only thinking about it of, well, how come Major League Baseball is trying to force Stu Sternberg out when he's been a much better owner than, John Fisher. John Fisher gets to do whatever he wants, but this guy's got to go when Tampa's been easily identifiably more competitive, more interesting, trying harder to actually field a winner than, the A's did the opposite of that. So, I looked at it only through the prism of, well, that's not fair to the A's. And then I thought about it a little bit more, and I'm like, well, maybe this explains why the Niners are tight belting so severely.
They also have, multiple soccer teams, and, that who knows? I mean, they're
Leeds, isn't that one of those soccer? I don't know much about soccer. Leeds is one of their clubs.
Right. But I mean, I think more than anything, they just are they feel like they've gotten taken on some deals, and this is going to be a really interesting time to see where the Niners go from here, because Jed and Parag being more involved with Shanahan and Lynch being less involved, does that make you feel good about the Niners' chances? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to speak to it one way or another because I really don't have the information here, but anytime Jed and Parag are more involved, it always makes me go, I wonder if that's smart. Fuji Simeon says, you mean Purdy deal done after the draft then? Yeah, I mean, I was hoping that they could get it done by March the 12th today. I kind of looked at March the 12th as the perfect time to get it done. It sounds like it's not going to get done, and it's not imminent. According to Diana Rossini, according to Tim Kawakami, according to the people that are reporting on this, Ian Rappaport, they say a deal with Purdy and the Niners is not imminent. We got this one from Stephen Draper. Give Purdy permission to seek a trade. Solved. There you go. I mean, what would you get? I mean, Tennessee might give you the first pick in the draft. Who knows? I mean, would they rather have Brock Purdy or Cam Ward? I don't know. Cam Ward's cheaper, younger, but there's risk with Brock. He's older, more expensive. There's probably a little bit less risk.
All you would hope is that Cam Ward has a start to his career similar to Brock Purdy's. What is moving on from Brock talk? It's insane.
Well, the people that I know who covered Cam up in the Pacific Northwest say that he's kind of a problem, that he's big ego, big, sense of entitlement, thinks he's really, really great. I personally really like him, and I think he'd be the best quarterback in this draft. But I thought that was interesting. I've never met him myself, and people that have say he's a major ego. Spaghetti 49 says no team will pay Brock Purdy $50 million plus 45 to 50 million is fair enough. You're wrong. I think I think he's going to get like 56. That would be my guess. I think.
Look at it this way: what number in free agency or contract extensions has come in for a starting caliber player in this league that has been a bargain? You can't find one in football. There's no single team that got a hometown discount from anybody on any number, any extension, free agent signing, anything.
Well, I mean, Baker, people would say Baker's making 30, and that looks like a relative bargain compared to some of the other deals. Right? I mean, it was also done. Yeah, it was done when he was he was at a low ebb. Let's just say that. So it's all about all it takes is one person to decide that you're worth that, and then all of a sudden you're worth that. Old Fogey says, so is CMC 4 times better than Mason? What am I missing? I don't think he's 4 times better than Mason. But I'm not sure what the genesis of this question is, but did somebody say he was 4 times better than Mason?
I don't know if anyone tried to 2x, 3x, 4x it, but I will say this. He is a billion times better than Mason based on what he's done in this league and what the 49ers are going to expect him to do next year.
I mean, emotionally too, they're on totally different levels. CMC is like a coach. Mason's like the youngest guy in the room.
Look, Christian McCaffrey's going to the Hall of Fame maybe one day. Jordan Mason got a second-round tender. They're not the same.
Jordan Mason came literally unglued when people told him he spoke out of turn, and then pouted the rest of the year. Literally pouted at every. I mean, go look at his pressers. Go look at his conversations with the media. It's like he's really young.
Well,
really
he got
young.
What I think what he also got caught up in was the Niners trying to get away with a staggering amount of bullshit. Remember, Christian McCaffrey was a game-time scratch who was then put on a plane to go to Germany to research an injury that no one had ever even heard of, right? So I think the Niners got caught really bullshitting his availability. Mason tipped the media to that, and then the Niners.
Was that what it was?
Down the chimney. That's what I think it was.
I think wasn't it about like, hey, are you going to start? And he said, yeah, I was told the other day I was going to start, and he was like, he was not supposed to be told. I don't know. I mean,
it was the whole. Yes, I was told the other day I was going to start. Then they tried to position Christian McCaffrey as a game time scratch.
Right.
Well, I think you were starting with the game. You know that's what that was. It was about
his quote made it look like the Niners were hiding medical information, which is a major taboo don't do in the NFL with the gambling. Isn't that basically it?
That's exactly what I think happened. And then
but he acted really badly about it. Like
I think he was ready to go have his moment in the sun. Like he played great in that opening game. He was fantastic. And instead of getting like a big that was awesome, it's the Inquisition for him in post game, and he's getting yelled at by the media. He's getting yelled at by his own team, his own coaches, his own front office. You know, stop blabbermouthing when he's like, "Well, I've never actually been asked a formal question before because nobody's ever been interested in my career before tonight." And the whole thing it was spoiled milk.
Well, and I understand from the player's perspective. It's like, hey, man, I don't want to talk. Then you're going to force me to talk. But then you're going to tell me that if I said the wrong thing at the wrong time, and now I'm going to get yelled at for talking. It's like, it's so easy to just be like, hey, man, I ain't going to talk.
Right.
And if every guy on the team did that, the PR guys would have a major problem. So there's like a little bit of a give and take there. A couple more supers. Nicholas Parra. Allen got an APY extension of $55 million. Thoughts? It's okay to get a low APY when you have a huge amount of money. Mahomes got whatever he got, $250 million or whatever, but he got an APY of $45 million.
Well, again, Allen doesn't have a low APY. It's the second highest in all of football. What comes with that as well is the single most guaranteed money in the history of the sport.
Yeah, but he doesn't have record-setting APY. Prescott still has the upper hand there. So people are looking at that going, oh, well, whatever. You know, Allen got $55 million APY. Yeah, but look at the guarantees.
That's
the
all that
guarantees were off the charts.
That's it. That's all that matters. Everything else is just window dressing for the agent to victory lap their deal. APY is not the bullseye. Guaranteed money is the bullseye.
It's the guaranteed money ultimately is the number, the only number anybody should care about, because that's the only one that you're actually for sure getting. You could have I could sign a contract tomorrow for 17,000 years for $17 trillion, but $1.50 is guaranteed. Well, guess what I'm getting for sure? $1.50. So, I mean, it's just, you can't there's lots of different ways to look at these contracts, and
not a lot of value you up for 17,000 years at your age, Larry. You want to talk about age being a problem for a contract?
Yeah, I mean, not 17,000 years, but the agents do it. This is where they keep score with one another. Thomas Selman says, "Are y'all still confident that Purdy gets signed?" I'm not as confident that Purdy gets signed because, I do think that the agent's asking for $60 million. And I do think that Parag is now going to try to make an example and be like, you know what? We're not getting taken anymore. We're going to be ruthless. I think they go at each other with numbers, and the Niners make him play at $5.2 million this year, and then consider franchise tagging him, and then somewhere along the lines, here's the other thing. If I'm Brock, I'd be super pissed about this. So you guys all hold the trump card. You can make me play for $5.2 million, not give me this extension, then come back next year, franchise tag me at $41 million. Again, I don't get the long-term extension. And all the while, you could give it to me, but then you're not going to want to give it to me because what are the odds that I'm actually going to play better when you take away, all my talent around me, including potentially both my starting wide receivers? And that very well could happen. What do you do if you're Brock Purdy and the Niners say, play on $5.2 million and then play on we'll play on the franchise tag and we'll put this thing off, and then are evaluating you in real time while you're playing with, backup players.
Well,
that aren't as good. I mean, that's where this could get really ugly.
The only leverage Brock has is it's Tanner Mordecai, and you better like Tanner Mordecai as much as Kruger does if you're going to walk away from me. You know what I mean?
Or Jameis Winston. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Jameis Winston is. I can't think of any way to get Kyle Shanahan fitted for his own straitjacket and needing a rubber room than having to coach Jameis Winston. Could you think of a player and coach who are probably not on the same page in terms of how the game? Jameis is the ultimate yoinks away. Good luck with that, gunslinger. And that is the opposite of how Kyle wants his quarterback to perform. So that would be a tough marriage to see ever happen. But
I mean, Jameis Winston has got talent, but he only played a handful of games last year. And I believe he had 3 games where he threw 3 interceptions or more.
He is the ultimate ride. He is the guy who throws for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then at the end of the third quarter, the pick 6 that breaks your back. That's who he is. Look at it this way. I don't even want to say this out loud, but if they were, they're not walking away from Brock. Brock's getting his money. They're not. This is going to happen. But if they were, Daniel Jones is now off the board. Zach Wilson is off the board. Like, you're going to Aaron Rodgers at some point here, and I don't want that either.
Oh, they're not. They wouldn't go there. You don't think though? You don't think they'd go there, do you?
I really hope not. But I look at it this way: Aaron Rodgers and Kyle Shanahan would be a better fit for Shanahan than Jameis Winston and Kyle Shanahan.
Let's talk about that for 1 second, though. Not him, but let's talk about if by chance the whole thing blew up. Okay, this is who's available. Okay. Darnold, Fields, Daniel Jones, Josh Dobbs, Nick Mullins, Zach Wilson, Jacoby Brissett. Those guys all have new homes, right? All those guys are gone. Darnold to Seattle, Fields to the Jets, Jones to the Colts, Dobbs to the Pats, Mullins to the Jags, Zach Wilson to the Dolphins, Jacoby Brissett to Arizona. Okay, so here's who's left. There's 26 available quarterbacks, and I'm just looking at the best of them. Trey Lance.
No.
I'll give you the list. You just go right down. You say yes or no.
Okay.
Trey Lance.
No.
Taylor Heineke.
No.
Marcus Mariota.
As a backup, sure. You're starting quarterback. You're going to have a top 3 pick.
Yeah, this is only for the starting spot right now. This is just, we're talking about potential starting spots. So we'd probably say no on Mariota. But you never know. He's 31. He made $6 million last year.
It feels like he's been passed around like a joint at a fraternity party at this point, though, right?
Drew Lock.
Maybe.
I would say maybe or yes on Drew Lock. Joe Flacco.
I mean, you get 1 year tops.
He's 40. He's been around for 17 years.
No.
Jameis Winston.
No, but maybe.
Wait for this next one. Mac Jones.
In terms of Kyle,
how incredible would it be if the Niners somehow wound up with Mac freaking Jones? And he played well.
Here's the thing. I wouldn't put it past him to actually play well.
Really?
In
Kyle's not mobile.
In Kyle's system, I think most quarterbacks have an opportunity to play well.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something if the circuitous route for Mac Jones eventually led him here and he actually succeeded here? How long do you think it would take before Kyle Shanahan admitted that Mac was the guy that he wanted all along? If he came here and succeeded here, you think it would take a week, 2 weeks? How long before Kyle would say, "Hey, by the way, back in 2021, this was the guy I actually wanted"? He won't do it unless he comes here and has success here, right? He's not going to do it unless he comes and has success. But if he does come and have success, I almost expect to hear Kyle say, "That's the guy I wanted."
Knew it all along, Larry. I knew it. I was betting on him.
He's only 20. Dude, he's 26.
Well, that's the thing. There's still a lot of potential there. I mean, anyone who wants to write the definitive, I know what Mac Jones is right now, you can't, because we don't know what he is. We know he failed in New England under circumstances.
Did he fail? I thought he was pretty good that first year, wasn't he? Was he?
Well,
did he fail?
He got worse around him, and obviously New England moving on from him means he did, right?
I don't watch a lot of I haven't watched a lot of Mac Jones as a pro, but didn't he have the first decent year wasn't he decent with New England?
He was okay for a minute there. And then the Patriots, decided to be one of the worst teams in football for a while. That's what a reset looks like. That's what a retool looks like.
Let's see his stats here. I'm going to show you. Okay, so rookie year 2021, he completed 67, almost 68% of his passes, 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. This is as a rookie. Took 28 sacks. That's his rookie year. Took 28 sacks, which was a lot, but 22 touchdowns, 13 picks. That was the first year. The second year, the completion percentage dropped from 67.6 to 65.2, basically the same. 14 touchdowns, 11 picks, and his sacks went up to 34. Okay, that was the second year. The third year, he played 11 games. His completion percentage was 65%, 10 touchdowns, 12 picks. Now he had the first year we had more picks than touchdowns, and he was sacked 22 times. And then this last year for Jacksonville, he played 10 games. Wow, he played 10 games? I didn't realize he played 10 games for Jacksonville. He completed 65%, 8 touchdowns, 8 picks, 14 sacks. Those aren't great numbers. Not great numbers. Not horrible numbers. 22 touchdowns and 13 interceptions as a rookie. Not bad.
By the way, you just brought up Jacksonville, going back to like wide receiver help. What number do you think Christian Kirk is out there? Has anyone come for Christian Kirk yet? You want fast? That's what he does. I would have much rather had Christian Kirk than DeMarcus Robinson, but I don't know what the price is on Kirk. So
let me see if Kirk is signed. I don't see Kirk on the list, but let's see. Maybe he's down here at the bottom.
I think he's still out there.
I think he is out there. Or did he sign somewhere right away? He's not listed here. Christian Kirk is not listed on Spotrac.
Traded to Houston. Is he in Houston now? Is that it?
Oh, he was traded. Okay. So he had a contract. He was never a free agent. Let me double check that with Houston. Let me see Houston's depth chart. He'll be on there if he's a Houston Texan. Yeah, he's a Houston Texan. Yeah, he is. Yeah, so Houston has Nico Collins and Christian Kirk, Mechie, Tank Dell. They just brought in Justin Watson. Man, look at Houston in the last day. They brought in Braxton Berrios, Justin Watson, and Christian Kirk. They're probably letting Diggs walk. They're probably letting Robert Woods walk. But yeah, Christian Kirk is in Houston now, so he's got a new
Diggs diva'd himself out of the realm of possibility for the 49ers? I think so.
Yeah, he's too expensive. He's too expensive for them for sure. But back to the quarterbacks, I think the only other guys besides that would be Carson Wentz. Russell Wilson. Would the Niners get frustrated with Purdy and go to a veteran like Russell Wilson? Or, Kirk Cousins wants to be traded? Will the Purdy thing blow up on the Niners and they, go to a plan B? That's going to be interesting to watch. I
don't think it will. Again, Purdy blowing up means he's still here under a final year of contract. Purdy, you can't hold out when you got 2 franchise years still coming at you. It's tough. So
I think we didn't get these two. Ernberg, Milton would be an interesting option to me. If we didn't get that one, we got this one too. Nicholas Para at 1043. He said a lot of the fan base feels like the sky is falling, but should have seen this coming because they told us so. I'm actually looking forward to the draft. I mean, it's put an awful lot on the draft. Would you agree? I mean,
Larry, as I think I said a couple of weeks ago, the answer to the question, is Kyle Shanahan still the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, will be directly related to the answer was the 2025 draft class a good draft for the 49ers? If we're saying yes to the draft class, yes, Shanahan is still the coach a few years from now. If we say no, that was a bad draft, Shanahan and Lynch are gone. This is the fork in the road. This is the reset. This is you get one more big bite at the apple, Kyle, as the guy in charge here, and this needs to work. So this is a massive, massive moment for Shanahan, for Lynch, for this regime, for the 49ers. This is huge. But I do think it's safe to say that the Super Bowl window that you just came out of is closed. How quickly they can open their next one, that's where we are. How quickly can they open their next window to really be a Super Bowl champion? But I think the last one is officially closed, and there's been enough roster turnover where if you're leaning on, we had all these guys who were in the Super Bowl. No, you don't anymore. No, you don't. So
one more super here from Old Fogey. So 15 million per season from more for CMC because Mason answered his first interview honestly and pouted while being a top 3 rusher, averaging 5.2 per carry. Got it. So 15 million per season more for CMC. CMC's, come on. I mean, CMC was the reigning offensive player of the year in the league.
Christian McCaffrey is one of the single best players in the history of the San Francisco 49ers.
I mean, come on, Old Fogey. I mean, seriously, what are you related to Mason? Let me share the screen real quick because Raj, our man Raj, on X has a bunch of interesting things real quick here. One, he's got this one right here from DeMarcus Robinson, who tweeted out, "It is what it is, 49er gang." Okay. Trey Brown tweeted, "Dealt with injuries last year that slowed me down, but we are 100% Niners getting a good one. I can promise you that." So
by the way, what is that supposed to be reassuring from DeMarcus Robinson? It is
dealt
what
with
it
injury.
Is. Got me.
Well, he's got another one up here.
Okay.
DeMarcus, wait, he's got another one down here, I think. Let me see. It's another comment here from DeMarcus. Oh, God, Trey Brown says, "God is good." Now, I guess that was it from DeMarcus.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know what to say about that. But there you go. And so I don't know. We'll see. I mean, the 49ers definitely have not, it's not been an impressive free agent market, and they haven't landed any big names, and they've lost some big names. I think it's really where Niner fans are really going to be nervous is when you start seeing trades. When you start seeing Ayuk traded, if Mason gets traded, if God forbid if Purdy got traded. But I do think 49er fans are not feeling good. But I think if you're a 49er fan, the way I would look at it is this way. You had this great run. You had, a bunch of terrific players. You had a quarterback on a rookie deal. Now you're going to have a quarterback on a veteran deal, and you're going to have to be better on the margins. You're going to have to be better in the draft. You're going to have to be better after the draft. You're going to have to be able to get it done with some non-premier guys. And we're going to find out about the coaching staff. We're going to find out about their ability to teach and their ability to bring along young players because, man, they're going to have a lot of young players playing significant roles this year. Almost any way you slice it. I don't know there's any other way to look at this year and see the 49ers as being a contender without seeing them having a significant contribution coming from rookies. So it's going to be on this coaching staff to coach them up. And we'll find out. They better be better on special teams because it's going to really matter. And, we'll see if they can get this deal done. Jed's got Parag running the show as far as the contracts. Let's see if Parag can get this thing done. I would say if he if he got it done by right now, I think that would have been awesome. If he gets it done by the draft, I think that's suitable. If he gets it done by the OTAs, let's say the post-draft OTA minicamp, that would be, I think, on time. Anything after that is going to be at a loss. Like if he's not there and you're going to training camp, he's not signed and you're getting into the preseason, everything beyond the mini camp that follows the draft, Brock Purdy better be there. And if he's not, that's going to hurt the 49ers. And Parag is going to have to own that, and Jed's going to have to own that, because that's going to be on them then. So we'll see. We'll see if they – I wanted it done by March. It doesn't sound like it's going to get done even by April. Can it get done by the May minicamp? And if it's not done and they go to training camp, man, bet the under. Bet the under.
There it is. That's the show.
That's the show.
Oh, man. Yeah. Stressful times. Blood pressure going up. Free agency all around the 49ers.
It's tough talk, man. It's tough. It's a tough time, but I'll just say this. The team that wins in free agency doesn't always win.
Right.
And it's usually almost never wins.
Look at it this way. I'd like to congratulate the Chicago Bears on winning free agency in the offseason for the third consecutive year. Hasn't paid off on the field yet, but the Chicago Bears just crushing it in free agency. By the way, a lot of people are envying the Minnesota Vikings. Watch the Minnesota Vikings be in that weird situation where, man, they got this awesome team, but now they got to go to J.J. McCarthy, who's totally unproven, and that could be an adventure right there. And I'm going to tell you right now.
Who do you think's the big winner? If I said to you, big winner in free agency, who do you have it as right now? Or is there big winner or big loser? Is there somebody that you would say big winner, big loser?
It's funny. A lot of people would instantly go to the 49ers as big loser because of all the names off the team, but I don't think that they've lost that much. We were talking about that. Big winner so far in free agency. It is hard to say that the Bears have done it wrong. Their new head coach said, offensive line to run my offense, and they have improved their offensive line. The Minnesota Vikings, they've added the Minnesota Vikings have had a free agency that would have left Niners fans envious, right? I mean, the Vikings, they've added Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, Will Frias, Ryan Kelly, Isaiah Rodgers. They've gotten better. They've gotten better and bigger. Trench warfare is the note that the Vikings got watching the playoffs. It's the same note we want the 49ers to get. I would say Vikings, Bears probably your winners so far.
I like what the New York Giants have done. Getting Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland in their secondary. I like those two moves a lot. I think the Giants definitely got better. The move that I don't understand, and I just, a lot of people, Adam Peters is a genius. Adam Peters is a genius. Okay. So you got rid of Jonathan Allen, who was one of the best defensive tackles in the league. He tore his pec last year, so he missed some time. And then you re-sign or you bring in Javon Kinlaw and you give him $30 million guaranteed. I thought that was like, what are you doing? I mean, you had Jonathan Allen. He's so active. He's so incredible coming off blocks, making tackles. He had one down year where he missed some games because of a torn pec, and you show him the door and you go get Javon Kinlaw, and then you give Kinlaw $30 million guaranteed. I did not get that. I like Javon Kinlaw, and I didn't get that. I loved, trading for Debo. Maybe they'll catch lightning in a bottle. He traded for Laramie Tunsil. I think that's a really great trade, getting a big time left tackle from Houston for a group of draft picks. But $30 million guaranteed for Kinlaw, and going from Jonathan Allen to Kinlaw, I don't see that. I just don't see that as wisdom.
I think there's two AFC West teams that got a little better too. I think Denver got a little bit better, especially if you're a fan of Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga. I like those additions. We'll see what they do offensively. But that was a playoff team on a rookie deal, so I think that they got a little bit better. And honestly, Geno Smith to the Raiders, factoring in they've added Pete Carroll, there is more credibility attached to the Raiders than we've seen since they've moved to Las Vegas and lost John Gruden to the email thing. This is
I kind of thought Seattle was the winner there. I liked Seattle getting out from Geno and going to Darnold. Darnold's coming off a good year. You went from a quarterback who is not your Super Bowl winning quarterback of the future to a guy who you think probably can. So I don't know. I think, and by the way, the Seahawks today signed Marquez Valdez-Scantling to their wide receiver core. So that gives them another receiver after they lost DK Metcalf and Lockett. So they still have some things to do in free agency for sure. But Sam, moving on from Geno and getting a 3rd-round draft choice and then turning around and getting Sam Darnold, I thought that I'm not a huge Sam Darnold guy, but at least Sam Darnold's 25, 26, something like that. You went from Geno, who's like 33, 32, something like that, to a younger guy. That was probably a pretty good move. We'll see what they do at receiver, but to me, I thought Seattle made a nice move there.
By the way, Butthead is saying, what email thing? Please specify. Well, John Gruden didn't get fired because he was a bad coach. John Gruden got fired because he's working for Barstool Sports, because in a Daniel Snyder, Washington, then Redskins investigation into Daniel Snyder's ownership, John Gruden's emails came to the surface, and he had a lot of not great things to say about minorities and gays, and it did not work. These are things that no one wanted coming to light. Now, I'm not saying John Gruden is bigoted or a racist, but he used a lot of language that didn't look good in the moment, and the Raiders let him go because of it. What do you mean, what email scandal? What are you paying attention? What?
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
why John Gruden is out. Yeah.
Once again, it's like this guy got his email all became public. I'd love to see how many people's emails and text, if we could go through them with a fine-tooth comb, wouldn't have something reprehensible in there.
Absolutely.
I kind of feel bad for the guy. I think he is going to get back, by the way. Didn't he get hired? Did he get hired by somebody? I thought he got hired by somebody.
He's Barstool.
But I thought he got hired by somebody. No, he's still just Barstool.
I think they just put Gruden's name back in Tampa Bay's Ring of Honor.
Oh, that's what it was.
And I think he might be for them or something.
They brought him back on their for a day last year, and he made up with the Glazer family, and then the Glazer family said, "Let's put him back in the Ring of Honor." So he's back in the that's what it is. He's back in the Ring of Honor. Old Fogey says, "Just entertain me. How much is CMC worth in draft picks? You talking about in a trade?
A 4th or 3rd?"
Oh, he's got double Achilles, and he's got a good sized contract that's fairly new. I would say, maybe I would say probably not even a 3rd.
Right,
probably a 4th.
Probably is where it starts.
Probably a day 3 pick. I mean, that's the one thing. The one thing about the NFL is the draft picks are like gold bullion, and so the draft picks are always incredibly valued. And it's, those things. I mean, the Niners got Anquan Bolden like 1 year after he led the Ravens to a win over the Niners in the Super Bowl, and the Niners got him for like a 6th-round pick. Well, why? Because it's Anquan Bolden. He had a big contract, and if you have a big contract, then your price tag in draft picks is low. So he had a big contract, and what can we say? The Niners got him for a 6th-round pick.
49ers, hold on. 49ers Red Zone says, is this Damon's show? No, actually, we got a show coming up with Cyrus in about 15 minutes over on the Plus, and we're going to talk a little Warriors. We've been so immersed in nothing but Niners basically all week long. We thought we would duck out of the Niners conversation for just a minute to talk a little Warriors Weekly with Cyrus. That's coming up on my channel. Larry, I'm going to be back tonight, though, with Sam Batesh, possibly Andrew Siciliano joining us for a Wednesday free agent recap. Like 9, maybe 10 p.m. We're going to do some late night Niners tonight. And then tomorrow at 11, Dieter Kurtenbaugh is going to be joining me. And then Friday, we're not doing Wake Up together. I think you're going back to the dentist. And Larry, I'm going back to the elementary school. I did such a good job reading to the kids. They tapped me to be a chaperone for a field trip. So I'm going to be hanging out with Jack's kindergarten class all Friday morning long. And I think that that's more important to be a good dad than be covering the 49ers free agency. So I'm going to go do that on Friday.
Well, have a great one. That does it for us. Thanks to on my end, of course, Pig and a Pickle, the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Sharp Corners Sports Cards and Collectibles for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. We appreciate them. And thanks to our spring training sponsors this month, Claw Daddy Arcades. Thanks to them. They're a great follow at Claw_Daddy_Arcades on IG. And thanks to our good friends at Learn Key Upskill Academy. All the links are in the description below. Learn Key Upskill Academy is if you're looking for a new, a new skill. If you're interested in IT, cybersecurity, marketing, they've got over 30 certification programs to help you get, more skilled so you can take that next step in your career. 37 years in business. They help over 200,000 students currently and are placing hundreds every month in new jobs. So check that out. All the links are in the description below. That's going to do it for us today. I'm back with you tonight at 6:00 on KMBR for Niners Nightly. JD's going to stop by. We'll talk a little bit about what the Niners have done and haven't done with John Dickinson. And have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Go Niners. Hopefully the 49ers get something more done. If anything breaks, we'll be doing a video on it. For Damon, I'm Larry. Peace.